Hi, Peter Bennett here from Fotoflow Solutions, and I'm here today to talk about setting your preferences in Apple Photos. Now, it may not be the most exciting thing to learn, but my experience working with clients is that often when they come to me and the problems they have, they originated by not having the correct settings set up, and that usually causes quite a number of issues later on. So if you're just starting out with Apple Photos, getting these settings correctly to begin with can really be quite helpful. And if you've already been using Apple Photos, perhaps changing some of these settings and understanding them will help things make things a lot easier for you. So one of the first things I like to show people, because I don't know if they quite notice it all the time, but if you go up to View and you hit Show Sidebar, it actually brings up a nice display of your photos and your albums and your shared albums. So this is a great way to navigate, and I hope you set that up so that you can navigate a little bit more easily. Now let's go to the actual preferences. If we go under Photos and we hit Preferences, we're going to bring up some preferences, and we're going to start right at the top here. Now the Apple Photos Library, it's an app, but it's also a folder that contains the photos that you've copied into it. And I'm going to show you what that means here. But for now, let's just take a look and hit Show in Finder. It actually brings it up. And if we control click and show package contents, we actually see all these subfolders. And if we go into masters, we can see all these nested folders, and eventually we get to some images in there, but you can see it doesn't make them very accessible. Let's close that up. So when you're working with your photos, you're going to want to work with them through the Apple Photos interface. Obviously, trying to find a photo through what I just showed you is not going to be a realistic way to do it. So the other thing you want to learn how to do is to set your Photos library up as the system photo library. Now this is grayed out because I've already set it up as the system photo library. And what does that mean? Well, you can have a number of photos library, but only one can be designated as the system photo library. And that allows you to sync images that you've imported into that library to your iCloud photo library and to your phone or your iPad or any other device that you have that's logged into that iCloud photo library. So you have to designate it as the system photo library. And then the other thing you have to do is you have to have this check mark to copy items to the photos library. And what this does is, say you have some photos and you want to copy them into, import them into your library. When you copy them, they actually make a separate copy and put it into that series of nested folders. And that allows Apple Photos to kind of work with them and sync them up to iCloud and to your other devices. If you uncheck it, it won't sync them to those other devices. Now you can still import them, but if you uncheck it, you'll see you'll get a little warning. And only items copied to the library will upload to the iCloud photo library. So when would you not want to copy? Well, you may have several thousand older photos. Some of my clients have hundreds of thousands of older photos that they don't want to put into iCloud. They don't want to put them on their phone for storage reasons or just for clutter. So you would uncheck that, and then you can import them into the photos library, and you can still work with them just like any other photos, but they're not going to sync to the other devices. And I hope that makes sense, because that's an important distinction. So generally, pictures you take from your phone, you're going to want to copy. So you're going to want to keep that check mark by default, and maybe when you import your archive of thousands of photos, to uncheck it then. And they will still reside then on the external hard drive or wherever it is you import them from. It just won't make an additional copy into this photos library, and I hope that makes sense. So let's go. You can check mark include location and uncheck summarize. That's not really critical. Oh, looks like we're getting a notification. It's the holiday here. We go to the iCloud check mark, And when you check mark the iCloud photo library, provided you have an account, and most of you do, you may want to get additional storage. And it's not expensive, and it's a great way to work in a maintenance-free kind of photo ecosystem, if that sounds like it might be enticing. It allows you to kind of work with your photos across all your devices, not the ones you didn't copy, but the ones you did copy. And you have to check mark that, and then you can see the status when the photos are being added and uploaded and synced. This is where you'll see the status. Now, the next two are very important because they involve storage. So perhaps you're on an older laptop or your hard drive is getting a little full. Maybe you want to consider optimizing your Mac storage. And what that does is when your storage capacity starts to get kind of full, it will actually make smaller versions of some of your photos and videos. And it will retain the larger ones in iCloud. It says store full resolution photos and videos in iCloud. But the smaller versions will reside on your laptop and not take up as much storage space. And that's really a great way to do it. Now, if you want to edit that photo, it actually automatically downloads the high-res image, allows you to edit it, and then syncs it back up to the iCloud and to your other devices. So this ecosystem, whatever you do on one image on one device, it does it to all the other versions of it on your other devices. And that's the great way of working with iCloud and the iCloud photo library. If you have plenty of space, by all means, download originals to this Mac, and you can always go back and forth if you start to get more storage, problems. You can go back to optimize. My photo stream doesn't really matter. iCloud photo library is taking care of that, so check mark it, don't check mark it, doesn't really matter. But iCloud photo sharing is a very handy feature, and I've done a previous video that explained how to use that. So go take a look at that, but make sure you check mark it, and that will enable the ability to use it to share your photos with your friends and your family. Makes things a lot easier. So I hope that made some sense. The important thing to understand is the copy items to the photos library. You want to leave that check marked for anything that you want to go up to iCloud and to sync to your other devices, and uncheck it when you import photos that you don't want synced to iCloud and your other devices. That way, those photos will always reside on whatever device or external hard drive that you've imported them from. So please go to my website, Fotoflow Solutions, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call or send me an email. I'm always happy to answer some questions, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks very much.